They were legends, actors, musicians, and cultural icons who shaped the world with their talent. But at the height of their fame, a silent epidemic changed everything. In the 1980s and 90s, AIDS tore through Hollywood, taking beloved stars far too soon, all while stigma and fear kept the truth in the shadows. Their stories are heartbreaking, their impact undeniable, and their memory continues to inspire. Let's take a look back at the stars we lost and the mark they left on the world. Freddie Mercury wasn't just a rock star, he was a force of nature. As the electrifying frontman of Queen, he commanded the stage with unmatched charisma, a 4-octave vocal range, and a larger-than-life persona that captivated audiences worldwide. Born Farrokh Bulsara in Zanzibar, Mercury's journey to fame was as extraordinary as his music, transforming him into one of the most iconic performers in history. While Mercury kept much of his personal life private, those closest to him knew about his relationships, including his deep bond with Mary Austin, whom he called his soulmate, and later Jim Hutton, who stood by him until the end. In 1987, Mercury was diagnosed with HIV, but he chose to keep it a secret, continuing to create music at an unstoppable pace. Even as his health declined, he poured his heart into Innuendo, the last Queen album released in his lifetime. His final on-screen appearance in These Are the Days of Our Lives showed a visibly frail but still magnetic presence, a farewell without words. On November 23, 1991, Mercury publicly confirmed his AIDS diagnosis. Just a day later, he passed away at age 45, leaving the world in shock. His death was a devastating loss, but his music and his legacy live on. The Mercury Phoenix Trust, established in his memory, continues to fight AIDS worldwide, ensuring that his impact extends far beyond the stage. Wade Dominguez was on the verge of Hollywood stardom when fate took a different course. His striking looks, a blend of Mexican and French heritage, set him apart. Before stepping into the limelight, he made his way as a go-go dancer in nightclubs, a far cry from Hollywood, but a start that allowed him to showcase his love for performance. His big break came in 1995 with Dangerous Minds, where he played Emilio Ramirez, a troubled student whose tough exterior is softened by Michelle Pfeiffer's character. His raw and emotional performance made an impact, proving he had the talent to hold his own among Hollywood's biggest names. He followed up with roles in City of Industry, The Taxman, and Shadow of Doubt, each showcasing his versatility and potential for an even bigger career. But behind the scenes, Dominguez was fighting a private battle. Diagnosed with AIDS, he chose to keep his condition out of the public eye, wanting to be remembered for his talent rather than his illness. On August 26, 1998, at just 32 years old, he passed away due to respiratory failure. In his final days, friend and co-star Elizabeth Berkley visited him in the hospital, showing him an early cut of The Taxman. Moved by his own performance, Dominguez reportedly broke down in tears, saying, "I'm so good, I'm so good." It was a bittersweet moment, proof of a talent gone too soon but never forgotten. Willie Smith wasn't just a fashion designer, he was a visionary who changed the industry. He brought a fresh urban perspective to high fashion, blending sportswear with couture in a way that had never been seen before. His brand, Willie Wear, launched in 1976 and revolutionized the industry by making stylish, high-quality clothing affordable to everyday people. His philosophy was simple: I don't design clothes for the Queen, but for the people who wave at her as she goes by. By the mid-1980s, Willie Wear was bringing in over $25 million annually, cementing Smith's influence in fashion. He collaborated with artists, dancers, and filmmakers, proving that fashion wasn't just about clothing, it was about culture. His impact even reached pop culture history when he designed Mary Jane Watson's wedding dress in Spider-Man. But just as his career was reaching new heights, tragedy struck. In 1986, Smith lost his business partner to AIDS-related cancer, and months later, his own health began to decline. On April 17, 1987, at just 39 years old, he passed away due to complications associated with AIDS. His company never publicly discussed the specifics of his illness, respecting his wishes. Despite his untimely passing, Smith's legacy continues to live on in modern streetwear, proving that fashion is not just about exclusivity, it's about expression, inclusion, and the people who wear it. If you want to explore the journey with me, please leave number 1 and watch this video until the end. Interesting things are waiting for you in the video. Denholm Elliott was the kind of actor whose name might not ring a bell, but his face was unforgettable. He graced over 125 films and television shows, quietly stealing scenes from Hollywood's biggest stars. Whether playing the delightfully absent-minded Marcus Brody in Indiana Jones, the sly Butler Coleman in Trading Places, or the endearing Mr. Emerson in A Room with a View, Elliott had a rare ability to elevate every role with his impeccable timing, subtle wit, and effortless charm. His path to acting wasn't a straight shot. Before Hollywood, Elliott served in the Royal Air Force during World War II, enduring 3 years as a prisoner of war. After the war, he discovered his true calling on stage and screen, quickly becoming one of Britain's most beloved character actors. Behind the camera, he lived a private life, marrying twice and raising 2 children, while also navigating a world that wasn't always accepting of his bisexuality. In 1987, Elliott was diagnosed with HIV, but he continued working, refusing to let his illness define his final years. He delivered memorable performances in Noble House, Toy Soldiers, and his last on-screen role in Noises Off. On October 6, 1992, at age 70, he passed away at his home in Ibiza due to AIDS-related tuberculosis. The British film community mourned the loss of a true legend, and in recognition of his contributions, BAFTA later established the Denholm Elliott Award, ensuring that his legacy lives on. Robert Reed was best known as Mike Brady, the wise and loving father on the Brady Bunch, but his real life was far more complex than the picture-perfect sitcom family he led on screen. His path to fame was filled with challenges, both personal and professional. Reed's acting career began on the stage before he found success in Hollywood, eventually landing the role that made him a household name. While he became America's favorite TV dad, he privately struggled with his identity. In 1954, he married Marilyn Rosenberger, and they had a daughter, Karen, but the marriage ended after 5 years. During this time, Reed confided in his wife about his sexuality, but in an era when Hollywood was not accepting of LGBTQ+ actors, he kept it hidden, fearing it would destroy his career. Behind the scenes, Reed was known as a perfectionist, often clashing with the Brady Bunch producers over scripts, but despite the conflicts, he was deeply committed to his castmates, taking his on-screen children on cultural outings and mentoring them off-set. In 1991, Reed was diagnosed with colon cancer, but medical records later revealed he was also HIV positive, a fact that only became public after his passing on May 12, 1992, at age 59. Though his official cause of death was colon cancer, HIV-related complications were believed to have played a role. His death sparked conversations about the stigma surrounding LGBTQ+ actors in Hollywood, particularly in a time when many felt forced to live in secrecy. Ed Koch was as New York as they come. Brash, opinionated, and always ready with his trademark phrase, "How am I doing?" As mayor from 1978 to 1989, he led the city through some of its most challenging years, winning both fierce loyalty and sharp criticism. Koch's path to politics was as colorful as the city he would later govern. After serving in World War II and working as a lawyer, he became a U.S. congressman before winning the 1977 mayoral race. Taking office during a financial crisis, rising crime, and urban decay, he was credited with stabilizing New York's economy and leading a major revival. But one crisis would define much of his legacy: the AIDS epidemic. As the disease devastated New York's gay community in the 1980s, activists accused Koch of an inadequate response, with playwright and activist Larry Kramer even calling him an evil man who helped gay men die. The criticism was compounded by persistent rumors about Koch's own sexuality, rumors he never addressed publicly, insisting his private life was just that: private. After his death in 2013, journalist Charles Kaiser confirmed that Koch was gay, explaining that he came from a generation that didn't discuss such matters openly. Despite the controversy, Koch took steps toward LGBTQ+ rights, banning discrimination in city employment and advocating for anti-discrimination laws in Congress. When he passed away at 88, he left behind a legacy as complex as the city he loved, one still debated by New Yorkers today. Roy Cohn was a man who thrived on power, controversy, and ruthless ambition. Politically connected family, he rose to national prominence at just 23 as chief counsel to Senator Joseph McCarthy during the Red Scare. Aggressive and relentless, Cohn played a key role in prosecuting suspected communists, most notably securing the execution of Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. But his influence didn't stop with the McCarthy hearings. He was also a major figure in the Lavender Scare, the systematic purge of LGBTQ+ individuals from government positions, arguing that they were security risks. The irony? Throughout his life, persistent rumors surrounded Cohn's own sexuality, including speculation about his close relationship with David Schein, McCarthy's top aide. Despite the whispers, Cohn vehemently denied being gay and built a career as a high-profile lawyer, representing clients like Donald Trump, Rupert Murdoch, and even mafia bosses. In 1984, Cohn was diagnosed with HIV, a fact he desperately tried to keep secret. Even as his health rapidly declined, he insisted publicly that he had liver cancer. On August 2, 1986, at the age of 59, Cohn passed away, never acknowledging his illness, his sexuality, or the contradictions that defined his life. Decades later, his name remains synonymous with power, paranoia, and one of the most controversial eras in American history. Andre Nepola may not be a household name today, but in the world of figure skating, he was once royalty. His journey on the ice began at just 7 years old, when his mother took him skating to help with his asthma. That small decision led to one of the most decorated careers in figure skating history. By 13, Nepola was already competing internationally, representing Czechoslovakia at the 1964 Winter Olympics. Though he didn't medal, his grace and precision set him apart. Over the next decade, he dominated the sport, earning the nickname the Ice Prince. His crowning achievement came at the 1972 Winter Olympics in Sapporo, where he won gold in men's figure skating. He also claimed 3 world championships and 5 European titles before retiring in 1973. Off the ice, Nepola was known for his quiet, private nature. Rumors circulated within the skating world about his relationships with other male skaters, but growing up in the Soviet bloc, where being openly gay was taboo, he kept his personal life discreet. After retiring, he toured professionally before becoming a respected coach in Germany. Tragically, his life was cut short in 1989 at just 38 years old. Diagnosed with cancer of the lymph nodes, speculated by some to be linked to AIDS, he passed away in Mannheim, Germany. His elegance, technical brilliance, and lasting impact on figure skating remain a testament to his incredible talent and dedication to the sport. Brad Davis was the kind of actor who left an impression: intense, daring, and unforgettable. He grew up in a turbulent home marked by his father's alcoholism and his parents' divorce. But despite the hardships, Davis found his escape in acting, moving to New York as a teenager to study at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. His breakout role came in 1978 with Midnight Express, where he delivered a gripping performance as Billy Hayes, an American student imprisoned in Turkey. The role earned him a Golden Globe and launched him into stardom. Davis became known for choosing bold, complex characters, including his portrayal of a sailor exploring his sexuality in Querelle, a film that cemented his status as a gay icon, despite his long marriage to Susan Bluestein and their daughter together. In 1985, Davis was diagnosed with AIDS, a reality he kept hidden for 6 years, fearing the stigma that surrounded the disease. He continued working while undergoing experimental treatments, but as his health deteriorated, he made a controversial choice. On September 8, 1991, at just 41, he ended his passed away, a decision his wife later revealed was made to spare his family from watching his decline. After his passing, Bluestein published After Midnight: The Life and Death of Brad Davis, shedding light on his struggles with addiction, Hollywood pressures, and the fight against an illness that claimed so many. Rudolf Nureyev wasn't just a dancer, he was a revolution. Born on a trans-Siberian train in 1938, his journey from Soviet poverty to international superstardom was as dramatic as his performances. Raised in hardship, his passion for dance led him to the Vaganova Academy in Leningrad, where his raw talent quickly set him apart. But it was his bold defection to the West in 1961 that made headlines worldwide. At the height of the Cold War, while touring with the Kirov Ballet in Paris, Nureyev made the life-changing decision to seek asylum. Once in the West, his career soared. His legendary partnership with Dame Margot Fonteyn redefined ballet, with performances in Romeo and Juliet and Swan Lake becoming instant classics. Yet Nureyev wasn't just a performer. He was a game-changer, challenging traditional gender roles and demanding stronger, more dynamic parts for male dancers. Though he kept his private life discreet in his early years, he later embraced his identity openly. In 1983, he became director of the Paris Opera Ballet, continuing to innovate and inspire despite declining health. Even as illness took its toll, he refused to slow down, choreographing and conducting until the very end. On January 6, 1993, at just 54, Nureyev passed away due to AIDS-related complications, leaving behind a legacy that forever changed the world of ballet. Rock Hudson was the epitome of the Hollywood leading man. Handsome, charismatic, and effortlessly charming. He rose to fame in the 1950s with films like Magnificent Obsession and Giant, earning an Academy Award nomination. With his towering presence and all-American appeal, he became one of the biggest movie stars of his time. But behind the scenes, Hudson was living a double life, forced to hide his true self in an era when being openly gay could end a career. His 1955 marriage to Phyllis Gates was later revealed to be a publicity move to silence rumors, while within Hollywood circles, his sexuality was an open secret. By the 1980s, Hudson had successfully transitioned to television, starring in McMillan and Wife and later appearing on Dynasty. But in 1984, his health began to decline, and he was diagnosed with AIDS, a disease still heavily stigmatized at the time. Initially, he kept his condition private, but when his visibly frail appearance at a Dynasty press event fueled speculation, he made history. On July 25, 1985, Hudson publicly confirmed he had AIDS, becoming the first major celebrity to do so. His announcement shattered misconceptions and put a recognizable face to the epidemic, sparking a wave of awareness. Hudson passed away on October 2, 1985, at age 59, but his impact endured far beyond his death. His revelation transformed public perception of AIDS, forcing the entertainment industry and the world to take the crisis seriously. Liberace wasn't just a pianist, he was a spectacle. He transformed classical music into pure entertainment, dazzling audiences with rhinestone-covered costumes, extravagant performances, and his signature candelabra-lit piano. His showmanship made him a household name, earning him the title Mr. Showmanship and a devoted fan base that adored his over-the-top glamour. Despite his flamboyant persona, Liberace fiercely denied being gay throughout his life. When tabloids hinted at his sexuality, he took legal action, most famously suing the Daily Mirror in 1956 for implying he was homosexual, winning the case after testifying under oath that he was not. But behind closed doors, his personal life told another story. He lived for years with Scott Thorson, his chauffeur and alleged lover, until their relationship ended in a public legal battle, with Thorson suing for palimony in 1982. As the AIDS crisis took hold in the 1980s, Liberace's health declined dramatically. He grew frail, but insisted he was simply on a watermelon diet. His final performance at Radio City Music Hall in November 1986 marked the end of an era. On February 4, 1987, he passed away at his Palm Springs home. While his doctor initially attributed his death to heart failure, an autopsy later confirmed the truth. Liberace had died of pneumonia brought on by AIDS. Even in death, his legacy remains larger than life, a testament to the magic he brought to the stage and the secrets he took with him. Pedro Zamora wasn't just a reality TV personality, he was a trailblazer. He immigrated to the U.S. with his family at age 8, settling in Miami. From a young age, Zamora was open about his sexuality and found strong support in his Cuban-American community. But at just 17, his life changed forever when he was diagnosed with HIV. Instead of retreating, he turned his diagnosis into a mission, educating young people about HIV, AIDS, safe sex, and breaking the stigma surrounding the disease. In 1994, Zamora reached a new level of visibility when he joined The Real World San Francisco, becoming one of the first openly gay men living with HIV to be featured on mainstream television. His presence on the show brought discussions about LGBTQ+ issues and HIV, AIDS, into homes across America. One of the season's most memorable moments was his commitment ceremony with partner Sean Sasser, a groundbreaking depiction of same-sex love at a time when such representation was rare. Tragically, Zamora's health declined rapidly during filming, and just hours after the final episode aired, he passed away on November 11, 1994, at only 22 years old. His impact, however, was undeniable. Even President Bill Clinton recognized his contributions, stating that Zamora had taught all of us that AIDS is a disease with a human face. His legacy continues through the Pedro Zamora Foundation, ensuring that his work lives on, inspiring new generations to educate, advocate, and fight stigma. Howard Ashman wasn't just a lyricist. He was a storytelling genius who helped shape some of Disney's most iconic films. His love for musical theater started young, crafting and directing shows even as a child. Before Disney, he made his mark on Broadway, co-writing Little Shop of Horrors with composer Alan Menken, a partnership that would go on to define an era of animation. In 1986, Disney brought Ashman and Menken on board for The Little Mermaid, a film that revitalized Disney animation. With unforgettable songs like Under the Sea and Part of Your World, Ashman infused Broadway magic into animation, earning his first Academy Award. He followed up with Beauty and the Beast, but during production, he was diagnosed with AIDS. Despite his failing health, he continued working, embedding deeper meanings into his lyrics, like the mob song, which reflected society's fear of what it doesn't understand. Ashman's final project was Aladdin, contributing lyrics to Arabian Nights and Friend Like Me before passing away on March 14, 1991, at just 40 years old. His loss was deeply felt, but his legacy lived on. Steve Rubell wasn't just a nightclub owner, he was the architect of an era. His path to nightlife royalty was anything but predictable. After stints in the National Guard and restaurant management, he partnered with college friend Ian Schrager to create Studio 54, the most famous nightclub in the world. Opening its doors on April 26, 1977, Studio 54 became the epicenter of disco-fueled excess, where celebrities, artists, and everyday people danced under a starlit ceiling. Rubell's infamous door policy, where the key to a good party is filling a room with guests more interesting than you, made the club the ultimate hotspot. On any given night, Andy Warhol might be sipping champagne next to Liza Minnelli, while Mick Jagger danced alongside a plumber from Queens. But the party couldn't last forever. In 1978, the IRS raided Studio 54, leading to Rubell and Schrager's conviction for tax evasion. After serving time, the duo pivoted to the boutique hotel business, revolutionizing the industry. In 1985, Rubell was diagnosed with HIV, a fact he kept private. As the illness progressed, he continued working and socializing until his passing on July 25, 1989, at just 45 years old. Though Studio 54's doors eventually closed, its legend and Rubell's legacy continues to define the golden age of nightlife. Anthony Perkins was more than just Psycho's Norman Bates. He was a complex, deeply private man whose life mirrored the troubled characters he often played. The son of stage and film actor Osgood Perkins, he seemed destined for Hollywood. His career took off quickly, earning an Oscar nomination for Friendly Persuasion and even landing a Billboard charting hit with Moonlight Swim. But it was Psycho that changed everything, making him a star while also trapping him in the shadow of Norman Bates for the rest of his career. Off-screen, Perkins struggled with his sexuality in a time when being openly gay could end a career. He had a discreet romance with actor Tab Hunter in the 1950s, but like many Hollywood stars of the era, he was forced to play along with staged double dates to keep up appearances. In the 1970s, he underwent therapy in an attempt to change his attraction to men, and in 1973 he married photographer Barry Berenson, with whom he had 2 sons. Though their marriage was reportedly happy, friends suggested he never fully reconciled his identity. In the late 1980s, Perkins was diagnosed with HIV, a fact he learned not from his doctor, but from a National Enquirer article. He kept his illness private, continuing to work until his final days. On September 12, 1992, he passed away from AIDS-related pneumonia at 60. Steven Stucker had a rare gift. He could make you laugh before he even opened his mouth. He found his calling in comedy early on, bringing an infectious, manic energy to every performance. Though he appeared in several films and stage productions, he became best known for his unforgettable role as Johnny, the wisecracking air traffic controller in Airplane. With his outrageous one-liners and unpredictable delivery, he stole every scene he was in, solidifying his place in cult comedy history. Stucker's road to stardom wasn't conventional. He honed his craft in San Francisco's theater scene before catching the attention of the Zucker brothers and Jim Abrahams, the masterminds behind Airplane. His fearless comedic style made him a fan favorite, but behind the humor he faced struggles of his own. In 1984, he received life-altering news. He had tested positive for HIV. At a time when the disease was surrounded by stigma and fear, Stucker made the bold decision to go public with his diagnosis, becoming one of the first actors to openly discuss his HIV status. His honesty helped put a recognizable face on a misunderstood crisis, much like Pedro Zamora would do years later. Sadly, his battle with AIDS was short. On April 13, 1986, he passed away at just 38 years old. Though his life was cut tragically short, his fearless humor and groundbreaking openness left a lasting impact, not just in comedy, but in the broader conversation about HIV/AIDS awareness. Paul Shenar was the kind of actor who could command attention with just a glance. He built a reputation as a versatile performer, seamlessly shifting between stage, film, and television. Whether playing the ruthless Alejandro Sosa in Scarface or appearing in classic TV series like The Wild Wild West, his deep voice and intense presence made every role unforgettable. Shenar's journey began in the theater. As a founding member of the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco, he honed his craft, gaining admiration for his powerful stage performances. His transition to Hollywood was effortless, with his charisma and commanding delivery making him a go-to for both heroes and villains. Yet, despite his on-screen prominence, Shenar remained deeply private about his personal life. Rumors swirled about a 5-year relationship with actor Jeremy Brett, known for portraying Sherlock Holmes, though in an era when being openly gay could end a career, such relationships were often kept under wraps. In 1989, Shenar's life was tragically cut short when he passed away from AIDS-related complications at just 53 years old. Though gone too soon, his legacy lives on through the unforgettable characters he brought to life, proving that true talent never fades. Joel Crothers was a familiar face to daytime television fans, captivating audiences for over 2 decades with his commanding presence and effortless charm. He stepped into the spotlight early, making his Broadway debut at just 14 years old. But it was the world of soap operas where he truly found his niche, starring in long-running series like The Edge of Night, Dark Shadows, and Somerset. Whether playing a romantic lead or a cunning antagonist, Crothers had the rare ability to bring depth and complexity to every role. Off-screen, Crothers lived a quiet duality. While openly gay among his inner circle, he never publicly discussed his sexuality, common for actors of his time. In a surprising twist, he became engaged to actress Valerie Gray, his on-screen love interest in Somerset. Whether their engagement was genuine or a way to deflect speculation remains a mystery. Tragically, Crothers' life was cut short in 1985 when he passed away from AIDS-related lymphoma at just 44 years old. Though gone too soon, his legacy endures through the characters he brought to life, proof that his talent, like the best soap opera storylines, will never fade from memory.